Former President Donald Trump delivered a dark assessment Friday of a country falling to ruin less than 2 years removed from his leadership. This is during a Friday rally in Wilmington, North Carolina. He repeated familiar lies about the 2020 elections, namely that it was rigged against him, and he absolutely blasted Democratic leaders, calling them arsonists, Marxists, crazy, tyrants, and repulsive. Rally was meant to boost Republican enthusiasm ahead of some key November elections. There are races on the ballot here in North Carolina that may prove crucial to control of Congress. Hello, I'm Travis Fain, a government and politics reporter here at WRAL, and this is the Daily Download. Normally I'd interview another reporter here, another WRAL reporter or newsmaker, but I was at Friday's rally in Wilmington, so I'm going to interview myself today, whether that's a good idea or not. I solicited questions online, got a few, and of course anytime you write about Donald Trump, you get some email. So let's start with the question my editor put me on ahead of this rally, and that's how do rallies like this impact the races in November? Answer, it's kind of a double-edged sword, folks. Trump won North Carolina twice, 2016 and 2020. He remains popular with Republicans. Congressman Ted Budd, who's a Republican running for the United States Senate, he and his campaign were happy to have Trump in town. They were at this rally. He spoke at this rally. They were glad to see it happen in North Carolina, eastern North Carolina in particular. That's an area, a lot of Republicans. Budd campaign is targeted for turnout. But let me read you a quote from Morgan Jackson, who consults for most of the top Democrats in the state, including Governor Roy Cooper. Jackson called Trump, quote, the most motivational force in modern political history. That's pretty good. But he also called him, quote, the largest unifying motivating factor in turning Democrats out. Democrats are fundraising off this rally. They're making sure people know that Trump was here. They're making sure that people know Budd is a Trump ally, even as Budd does the same. So this is about turnout for Republicans. It's not about convincing unaffiliated voters who probably are going to make the difference in a lot of elections here. It's not about convincing them to vote for Republicans because they like Trump. It's about juicing the base, boosting the energy, getting people to turn out. That's a big part of the Budd race, which of course is statewide. And then here in the Triangle area, in southern Wake County, Johnston County, some surrounding counties, we got the 13th Congressional District. It's really North Carolina's only truly competitive congressional race. Bo Hines is the Republican. Wiley Nickel, a state senator, is the Democrat. Hines is a Trump endorsee. So, he was there as well. And the hope is, even though that's a tight district, that they can boost turnout in it for Republicans. But, much like President Joe Biden risks alienating people when he goes on stage and offers an overly rosy assessment of the economy, trying to convince people that things are going to plan, even though we've got record inflation right now, Trump risks doing the opposite. He's describing an America that I think a lot of people don't recognize when he says we are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, for example, he said Friday. Folks, that'd be big if true. He says the economy has been collapsing, and, I forgive me, but I think there's probably some distance between what we're seeing now with the economy and a collapse. So we'll see what it all adds up to as far as turnout. But there were quite a few Republican politicians from North Carolina who wanted to be there. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson was there, spoke from the stage, got a great response, as he almost always does. Every time I've seen him speak, the crowd kind of, there were people sitting around. These rallies, they last half the day. There's space in between speeches. People kind of get bored. But when Robinson took the stage, I'm telling you, people stood up, they paid attention, they cheered. And also during Trump's speech later in the night, obviously the main event, Trump says, hey, Mark Robinson, tell me what you're running for. I want to endorse you for anything, and I want to do it early. Well, Robinson is almost certainly running for governor in 2024 here in North Carolina, and that's a big endorsement. It's bad news for Treasurer Dale Folwell, a Republican who is contemplating, we've reported here at WRAL, contemplating a run for governor in 2024 himself. He would presumably be against the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who, as I said, exceedingly popular and is the front runner in that race. Trump also endorsed from the stage Sandy Smith. Now, she is running in the 1st Congressional District, obviously a Republican, and she is a dyed-in-the-wool, make America great again, Trump candidate. She's also been accused of domestic violence and other things by 2 ex-husbands. At one point, her daughter filed a report of domestic violence against her. She says this is, varying degrees of lies, of course. But this is the first time I'd heard Trump endorse her in her race against State Senator Don Davis, the Democrat, again in Eastern North Carolina's 1st District, so that's a big deal. Speaker of the House, Tim Moore, Speaker of the North Carolina House, was there. He's from Cleveland County, so he chose to drive to Wilmington. He brought an entourage of staff. I don't want to read too much into his presence there. He spoke from the stage. But we've long believed Moore has ambitions for higher office, and I think this is another little piece of evidence that, yeah, that's absolutely true. Folks not there, though. Real quickly, I want to mention New Hanover County, which is obviously where Wilmington is. It is a key county, a bellwether county in a lot of ways for General Assembly races. Every seat in the General Assembly is up for re-election this year. Republicans want to pick up a few more seats and go from the majority control to supermajority so they can, Governor Roy Cooper's veto won't matter. They can just overturn it. There's a key Senate seat and a key House seat in New Hanover County. Ted Davis and Michael Lee, the Republicans in those seats, did not attend, as far as I know, did not take my calls or declined comment about the rally. So, I mean, look, more moderate Republicans are in a difficult position when Trump comes to their area because they don't want to lose the votes that they would by being tied to him. A couple of newsy things Trump said during the rally. One, he called for the death penalty for drug dealers. He wasn't more specific. I'm assuming there's a cutoff that he would support where we would not execute you if you dealt drugs. He suggested that Ted Budd would carry this bill if he was elected to the United States Senate. The Budd campaign has not said they would, but it's just something the former president just kind of throws things out. He also said he might do a project at Lake Norman. He owns a major golf course there, the lake near Charlotte. He was very complimentary of it. Said he'd like to go there next and maybe do a project there. And we'll see. I wouldn't read too much into that, but I did want to mention it. All right, we're going to take a little break here. And I'm going to come back, and I guess I'm going to continue this conversation with myself, and we'll talk more about Donald Trump's rally in Wilmington. Welcome back. I'm Travis Fain, and I'm talking about the rally former President Donald Trump held Friday in Wilmington, North Carolina. You can read full coverage of that at nccapital.com, which is WRAL's site specifically for North Carolina politics, government coverage. Back to the questions that were submitted by various folks. How big was the crowd? Honestly, folks, I don't know. I'm terrible at estimating things. I would do this sometime where you're somewhere kind of outside with a spread out crowd, but where there's a gate count, where someone is keeping count. Estimate the size and then go ask at the gate how many it is, see how close you get. And then bear that in mind the next time you're reading press coverage, how difficult it is to count folks. I would say between 2,000 and 5,000 people. Obviously, that's a wide stretch. I did have one guy tell me online that there were more than 10,000 there, and then he posted a picture from a totally different Trump event that clearly didn't have 10,000 people in the picture. So just watch out for online descriptions. We went with thousands. I'm comfortable at that. Here's a question that came in. Why are you so terrible, bad at your job, biased against Trump? Various versions of this came in. People tell me all the time I'm biased against the former president. I get that feedback less than you might think. Certainly less I'd get than if I was a woman. Misogyny is a very real thing on the internet. A lot of it gets targeted at female journalists. So I got maybe half a dozen messages over the weekend along these lines. Not that much, given that Trump called the press covering him the enemy of the people from the stage Friday, which honestly, I'm just like, well, you invited me. I didn't say come to Wilmington and give an hour-and-a-half speech. I didn't build these press risers so that the enemy of the people could bring cameras that have a good view of you. Anyway, to the question, am I biased against Trump? Look, the man is either lying repeatedly for 7 years or he's not. And folks, that's what he's been doing. And I'm always going to be biased against lies, against stoking people's anger into hate, against feeding paranoia, against feeding fear. Trump certainly did not invent that in politics, but he sure has worked to perfect it. People want to vote for that? Do it. We're a democracy. That's fine. But please go to the polls with your eyes open. And I'm trying to provide a fair airing of the issues. And it's absolutely fine if you have criticisms of how I go about that. You should not expect perfection from journalism. I'm going to repeat that. You should not expect perfection from journalism. It's what we strive for. We don't always hit it. If you think I'm biased, okay, read my stuff through that lens. Maybe I'll convince you I'm fair. I'm certainly trying to be. Logistics questions. How do you prep for a rally like that, and what should I bring? 2 words that are 3 words. Wide-brimmed hat. Bring yourself a wide-brimmed hat if you're going to be outside at something like this. one with a cord so you can knock it back off your head. If you're going to be out in the sun all day, bring a wide-brimmed hat. Can't emphasize it enough. Be patient, be polite. People are waiting in line to get into this thing for hours. Some people showed up 7 a.m. Doors opened, I think, 2:30. Speeches from kind of the undercard, Ted Budd, Mark Robbins, and others. 4 o'clock, president arrived, 7:50. That is a long, long, long day. One other, the music is wonderful at Trump rallies. I don't know who picks the music for him, but it's good stuff. Whoever came up with the idea of playing "You Can't Always Get What You Want," I can't remember if that was the main song that people associated with Trump during his 2016 rally presidential run or his 2020 presidential run, but that's beautiful. You can't always get what you want. Last Friday night, I heard the most opera music I've ever heard in my life, sitting outside on the tarmac at the Wilmington International Airport, waiting for Trump to come on and give his speech. The sun had set. The sky was beautiful and clear. Nessun Dorma is playing. Phantom of the Opera is playing. Other opera songs I never heard. Did not know I was going to hear that much opera at the Trump rally. Didn't know I liked opera that much, but I really, really enjoyed it. It was a nice scene. Here's a question from one of my liberal neighbors. How do you stand going to the Trump rally? I hope you got hazard pay. I did not. It was fine. You can have the most cordial conversation with a person wearing a Trump shirt, Trump hat, Trump pants. But I am going to tell you, I was struck how quickly those conversations and how often they turned to conspiracy theories. There was a lot of acceptance of QAnon. I don't know if y'all know what that is, but it's basically a chain of conspiracy theories and an online community. The main thing, this is going to sound like I'm making it up, but a lot of these QAnon folks believe that Trump is secretly fighting like a secret cabal of Satan-worshiping pedophiles. I'm not making that up. It's not a joke. That's what some people either believe or say they believe. And a lot of people accept it, So I'm talking to a woman, and we're having a nice conversation, and then I ask about what issues are animating her, why she likes Trump so much, and she says he's fighting for the millions of children that are being trafficked. And I said, millions? The main question that I ask people, and look, we've all got people in our lives who believe conspiracy theories that are, impossible to prove, and to disprove. That's the wonderful thing about a conspiracy theory, right? I recommend asking people, and I do ask people all the time, how do you know that? And just let's drill down. And in your life, if I had one lesson from journalism and I've been doing this 20-something years, ask yourself, ask people, how do you know that? All right, what brought people out? That's a question I got. Look, I don't know why people would go to anything 12 hours early, whether it be a Donald J. Trump rally or a concert or anything. That's a big no thank you for me. But people are upset. The issues that I heard that most often animated folks who were there: aid to Ukraine for fighting against the Russian invasion, foreign aid in general, immigration, the economy, of course. Look, we got record inflation right now. I heard a lot of complaints about gas prices, although those have come down. And I think actually grocery store prices and other prices are more on people's mind these days. Here's a question. Did anyone do that weird salute that showed up in Trump's Ohio rally? This is a bit of a deep cut, folks. I don't know if you saw this or not, but when the former president, had his rally in Ohio a week or two ago, at the end they play this ominous music, and he's going through this litany of terrible things, and people lifted up one finger, like they're holding their hand up, not the middle finger, the index finger, the pointing finger, and apparently that is a QAnon thing. It stands for where we go one, we go all. And the music apparently is also associated with QAnon. It comes from some internet video. And I did see that at the North Carolina rally as well, although not in the numbers that I saw from video in Ohio. Lisa Desjardins with PBS NewsHour, and forgive me if I've mispronounced her name there, she tweeted out from the rally some that she had seen Trump security staff, rally security staff, telling people to put their fingers down. So the Trump folks actively pushing back against this. But if you see that one finger thing and the ominous music, or if you're online and you see WWG1WGA, that stands for where we go one, we go all. That's QAnon stuff. That's conspiracy theory, just nuttiness. So that is about it. Look, folks, I host 1/5 of a daily podcast. You can ask me anything. You can find me on Twitter at Travis Fain. My email address, tfain@wral.com. I am exceedingly easy to find online. If you enjoyed this conversation, you want to get deeper into North Carolina politics, and you're on Twitter, try the hashtag NCPOL, NCPOL, North Carolina politics. You're going to see a ton of stuff there. You'll learn some stuff. I'm going to warn you, there's some jerks on there. Some people would say I'm one of them, but I certainly am trying not to be. Thank you so much for listening to the Daily Download. We do this every day. We dig into a story. If you want to listen to other things online, we got all kinds of podcasts, something I didn't know till recently. You can find WRAL Newscast in podcast form. Search for WRAL Newscast in your podcast app. That feed gets updated multiple times a day. Have yourself a great day, and thank you for your attention.